Hey, loves, it's Dr. Simone Ellis with Beyond the Chair podcast. And I am excited today because this is a gentleman that came into my life when I was trying to figure out my fitness journey. And he has been an amazing friend ever since. Rashad Sanders, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Ellis.
Dr. Ellis, well, we go back like some years. This was a journey in my life where I was transitioning, is what we want to say. And I needed some mindfulness. I needed some guidance. I needed some help with fitness. Yeah. And surprisingly, it sparked a really good friendship. And I'm super glad to have you in my life.
Thank you.
I haven't been always the best friend, and we can talk about that a little bit later, where it had been some slippery slopes. You know, when life gets busy and you kind of do stuff that you kind of slack. But what I will say about this gentleman right here is that he's always held me accountable, and he never lost sight of where our friendship was and has been back in the mix again. So thank you.
Glad
thank
to be
you.
Back in the mix.
I love it. I'm glad to be in your life and in your mix because we have some highs and lows, and we're going to have friends during our seasons, our rainbows, as well as our storms,
Definitely.
Yeah. So let me tell you guys a little bit about Rashad. So he, of course, again, like I said, I was on a fitness journey. So personal training for how long?
20 years.
20 years. That is...
I'm old. We getting old.
Listen, the knees has got the arthritis, but 20 years in the fitness game. So tell me a little bit about how you even got into fitness.
Well, before I get into that, Simone, I need to let you know how proud I am of you.
Oh. What?
Because this moment that is happening right now, it was supposed to happen.
Really?
As you mentioned when I walked in off the air, I was on docs years ago.
Years ago, yeah.
However, you were in a place in your life where you were not ready to handle what was going to come with doing that on the regular. Okay. Because you wanted it. You talked about it, about having that podcast, but you knew that there were some things you needed to continue to go through before that you were able to do that. And you scratched it.
Yeah.
And people wanted it.
Yeah.
And you said, no, I can't do it. I'm not in a mental space to handle this. And you went on a journey that you needed to go through that got you to this day.
Oh, friend.
And because of your journey, your story, your growth, and your development, and the obedience that you're walking in now, you're blessing so many people. Not just me, because I know you. And this was something that you always talked about, but you were afraid.
Yeah.
But you had to go through some things to get the fear out of your life that was holding you back. And now that it's not holding you back, you living, you are thriving. And your obedience has blessed a lot of people's businesses, a lot of people's life because of the choice that you made.
I did not expect you to come in here and start giving me all the feels, Fred. Oh my God. Thank you. I mean, you have, guys, he was in my life. Oh my God. It was a lot of shit going on.
It was a lot. And you
stood in the gap for me.
And you were you were using various outlets to get it out. And the podcast back then was one of those outlets.
So guys, if you know, you don't know probably this about me though, but I did have a podcast back in the day with one of my really good girlfriends, Dr. Batiste, who's still a great friend of mine. And yeah, it was a lot because when you're going through a lot in your life, you don't always, you want to see yourself moving. I think that's really like when you're going through drama or stress, like you want to see yourself, something has to hit, something has to win because you got so many things that are not hitting, right? So many things that are not winning. And I want to tell you, thank you also, because again, you were such a pivotal person in that life. He would be looking at me like, so what you about to get into this weekend? But not in a place of judgment, right? You were always a great sounding board. And I keep saying thank you for that because you need people in your life that during that periods of time where they're like, nah, I get it. Like life isn't as black and white anymore. Right. And my hopes are now in your life, I'm also being that person to say, hey, listen.
I'm getting it back. What I gave to you, what I gave to you
back
back
then.
I sowed this. You and I've had this conversation.
Yeah.
I sowed that seed not knowing that years down the road, I was going to get the same thing back.
That's what amazing commitment, friendships.
Yeah,
like,
Even though you haven't been consistent with me all the time, but you know.
I've been much better now, though, right? Like I have been a good, like it was, life, like right, and real friendship, true friendship, I think, is understanding that people can't always show up as their best, but they can show up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so thank you. I really received that from the bottom of my heart. And what is dope is that because we keep pouring into each other, your flourish season is coming. All the things that you're doing is amazing. And I'm going to be on whatever your podcast is, just being like, so y'all remember when Rashad was doing? It's going to be great.
Yeah,
so
I'm excited.
I'm
Go
excited.
back to your question. I guess I can answer the question.
Well, thanks, babe. Appreciate it. So, okay, yes. Journey, fitness, 20 years ago. Let's start with why? Why even start with fitness? Like, where were you in your life where you decided, hey, I need to get healthy or I want to inspire people, because you do so much of that.
Right. For me, and I've learned this just because of the journey that I've been on. 20 years ago, I was just coming out of college.
Were you always fit?
I played sports.
Okay.
I played basketball, I played football, ran track.
Much less grace. But definitely did those things.
Yeah. Had goals to go to college and play ball.
Yeah.
And so I stayed in shape for that.
Okay.
And also, sports, working out was my outlet to deal with the internal pains and struggles that I was dealing with.
Okay.
I had a very traumatic childhood. My relationship with my dad wasn't good. And by the time I finished college, my father and I relationship, it was starting to turn around for a little bit, and he ended up dying a few years later. So we had 5 good years of life. But for me, working out was the only way I knew how to deal with the pain and the confusion, the nightmares that were coming to me in the middle of the night, and there was no negative vice. You know what I mean?
How did you know that working out was like the solution to that at that time? Because sometimes people don't realize that till like much later.
No, I didn't. That's the thing. I didn't know.
Okay.
I grew up a skinny kid.
Okay.
Got picked on. My freshman year of football, I was 5'9", 95 pounds.
Oh, wow. One of my thighs weighs 95 pounds. Go ahead.
I was not a big kid. And because of the abuse I saw growing up in my home, I wanted to get to a place where I felt physically strong enough that if I ever needed to defend my mother from my father, I'd be able to.
Got it.
So that was a lot of the motivation. Like when I was sitting under them weights and like throwing up crazy weight, that's what I was thinking about, is there's going to come a day where I'm going to be able to pay my father back for everything that he did.
Wow.
And that day ended up coming. It came, and I was stronger, and he could not do anything.
Wow.
Because I had built up the muscle, when you hold bitterness in, you hold anger in, and you get an opportunity to let it out, you don't know what's going to happen. But I had been spending years taking care of my body, getting stronger, because I knew there was going to be a day that I was going to have to let him know, you know what, all of that, I'm about to give it back to you.
But you were somehow able to repair the relationship.
Simone, I can tell you this. It was 2001, New Year's Day.
Okay.
My father brought us over, my sister and I, over to his house for New Year's Eve, for his annual New Year's Eve dinner. He fixed rabbit, black-eyed peas, collard greens, like macaroni and cheese. Yeah, there's some superstition that rabbit on New Year's Eve bring. I don't know. Okay. It was good. Yeah, he made a good rabbit, right? But he was talking about me being in college because I was actually paying to go to school. I didn't make the basketball team, so I wasn't playing. So I was just there, and he was upset that I was still choosing to go to a college that was far away that I was having to pay for.
Wow.
And in the middle of dinner, I looked across the table and looked at him and said, you can't say nothing about where I'm going to school because you drank my college tuition.
No, you didn't.
So unless you're going to pay for me to go somewhere else, don't say nothing.
Wow.
And he had some choice words to say. I stood up. I said, what's up? Let's go. We stood up. He pushed me. Pop, pop. Hit him with the. I don't even remember. I hit him so fast and so hard.
This is no type of New Year's Eve party that New Year's Eve that anybody wants to be a part of, right?
Not at all. And we didn't finish dinner. My sister grabbed me. We ran out. We drove home. Got home. I'm crying. My mom was like, "What happened? What happened?" I was like, she said, "Your dad didn't call." She said, "What happened over there?" All I did was pick up the phone. He said, "Tell that punk ass nigga to come back over here and finish what he started." And I was like, I ain't going back. I said, because everything I needed to get out, I just got out. And then him and I were able to talk a couple of days later. And from that moment, New Year's Day 2001, to the day that he died, is coming up on his 16-year anniversary of him dying on August the 4th. Him and I had one of the coolest relationships ever.
So do you feel like that toxicity that you were holding, did you handle that in the best way possible? Or now looking back, you're like, how could you have gotten that message across without the strength of your muscle?
I feel like in that moment that was the only way, because I had been trying through words, through cards, sending him Father's Day cards or birthday cards and just putting extra messages in there. I thought that would get his attention, but it wasn't until he saw me as a man in that moment that it got his attention, and our relationship changed.
Yeah.
And then now I feel the good parts of him more now when I have my son. And I don't have many good memories of my father. And when I'm playing with my son and spending time with him and I'm just holding him and loving on him, I start to feel like this empowerment of good that my father had in his life. And so it has taken me having conversations with my mom to ask her, well, how did he treat me them first, those developmental years from birth to 5? Like, because all I remember was when the switch went off in him and everything got bad. Those are only the memories I have. And my mom told me, Rashad, before all of that, you were everything.
I think it's really hard for us to think about, like, we have so many resources now to be able to talk about how we feel, vulnerability, mindfulness, all these things, right? And I think about even my own father, who unfortunately was an alcoholic as well. And he worked at the post office, and I think about those things together combined. Like when people went postal, right? And you're like, well, now, like, you can look back out and say that probably was a lot of stress. They didn't have the same avenues to be able to release that stress properly, right? My dad clearly, I think, was struggling with trying to figure out how to properly release the stress because he was in the gym all the time. I don't even remember my dad taking showers at home. He lived at the gym. So I think that he knew, like, in some shape or fashion, this was peace, but I think he only had part of the story. Whereas you, you're one of my male friends that has been always very introspective, right? You're always doing the work. You're always seeking knowledge. You're always inspiring others as well. And I think that now, like, conversations that we can have more grace for our fathers is understanding that they didn't have the resources or the tools. Also, the environment and the community really wasn't conducive to allowing them to express themselves. Like, thinking of my father possibly coming home, I think my mother would have been really receptive of, hey, you've had a hard day of work. But instead, my father found peace in alcohol, right? Which I think a lot of people, especially back then, did because you didn't know about counseling. Or if you did think about counseling, that's weak, right? You couldn't come home and be a less version of yourself, so you just would drink the pain away.
Right.
And so I'm glad that you're able to find the peaceful moments and the happier moments, because these conversations probably that you would have with your father now, because you're much more knowledgeable, would be totally different. I think about that all the time.
Yeah, that's definitely something I think about often, because my dad was in the military, did 20 years in the Army, and
did he go serve anywhere?
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
yeah, and literally as a kid, every time he went somewhere for 3 months, 6 months, a year and a half, when he came back, he was different, and it was worse. Like, the abuse was worse.
Yeah. Because they didn't even have any outlets to, like, you're seeing people, you're killing people.
I honestly don't know what he did. I knew his specialty, but I didn't know what he was doing when he wasn't coming home talking about it.
Yeah. I
don't know if he could talk about it. But when he went to Saudi Arabia and spent a year and a half over there, he came back and decided that he was going to get out. And he said, I know you want to go into the service, Rashad. He said, but I will tie myself to a tree and to you before I let you go into the military, because I know what's coming.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was doing over there. That was in like 1990, 1991, before the first Gulf War ever happened.
I was going to say the Gulf War times? Yeah.
No, before it happened. He was already over there doing stuff. And so he kind of knew where the world was going from a military standpoint.
Yeah.
But once he got out, I mean, I have friends now that are veterans. They don't get the support they need. My dad get the support he need with what he was going through.
Yeah.
And the only thing they could do was drink.
So you using all of this, you decide, hey, I need to really have a good outlet.
Because my dad was a superhero. Man was he was in the best shape. He was in the gym, played ball, ran. He was in shape. When he got out of the service, he didn't care anymore.
So you equated fitness and health to being like a superhero, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wanted to be a superhero like my dad.
Got you.
I wanted to be a superhero like my dad, but it started getting to where I wanted to be able to protect myself from him.
Got you.
Yeah, or not just me, but my mom or my sister.
So after he passes away, and you have this great relationship with yourself and him because it's gotten so much better, you decide to make fitness become a part of your like actual career and your journey.
Yeah.
So walk me through kind of like now we're graduating. Are you trying to figure out what you're doing with your next steps, or did you know you were going straight into like training? Like what were you planning on doing?
I mean, exercise was just part of my daily routine. I mean, when you grow up in a military family, discipline is ingrained in you. And so the things that were part of my routine was already going to the gym. So once I graduated and moved back to Atlanta, I was like, I'm going to get a job and I'm going to go to the gym and work out. When I started going to the gym, I met some guys that were older than me that had been in the game, been working out for a while. They saw my enthusiasm with willing to come to the gym every day before I went to work just to help, just to sit and learn and see how they train people and see how they wrote out nutrition plans for people, or how they counsel people on their fitness journey. And then I would go to work. I worked at the newspaper in Atlanta, the AJC, in the marketing department. I'd work for 8 hours. After I got off, I'd come right back to the gym.
Wow.
To work out with those guys and then sit the rest of the night just to learn. And it was in that space that I started my first personal training business. Went to get certified with a couple other guys in the gym that were wanting to do it. But I took it serious.
Yeah.
I took it serious because I knew that if I could understand the body in a way that could help somebody else, like it has helped me, let's see how far this can go.
And somehow you started incorporating mindfulness, which, guys, that's today's
Man,
topic about it. And I'm excited because I think that you're probably the first person I actually heard the word mindfulness come from. Like now it's all the rave. Like everybody's talking about it. But back when we met, which was, 7-8 years ago, I don't know if I heard people talking about mindfulness. And in some aspects, when you don't hear people talking about mindfulness, I'm thinking, oh, it's like these Zen people, these like really weird people that are like hugging trees, and what the heck is mindfulness? So guys, I want to say today's topic is finding stillness in mindfulness, and it's a fast-paced world. So how do we keep ourselves mindful, especially for our healthcare providers who, let's be clear, like the rigmarole, the stress of the day is a lot. And I kind of want to know, how did you start to become this mindfulness guru really before Calm app was out, or it was even nothing, like none of this was out. Like I'm serious, you were one of the people that I remember hearing the word, but I did not understand the magnitude or the gravitas of it. How did you start incorporating fitness or your journey of fitness into mindfulness? And also, guys, he's a yoga instructor, so all of those things combine.
Right. Let me do this. If you're watching right now, if you're listening right now, I need you to stop. Like whatever it is that you're doing, so you can be an active participant in what I'm about to do. Simone, I need you to sit. Sit all the way back. Put your feet on. Take your feet off the table. Put them on the ground.
On the ground. Take off my shoes?
No, you can keep your shoes on.
Okay, because I was like, I don't know if they clean in here. Just kidding.
And those of you that are listening and watching, I want you to do the same thing.
Okay.
Sit up tall wherever you are and close your eyes. And just take a couple deep breaths, Simone. Big breaths in your nose and out your mouth. Allowing your mind to relax with each exhale. Allowing your body to relax with each breath, so that you can connect with the part of you that is perfect, the part of you that contains all the answers to your everyday life. Everything you need is already on the inside of you. And like you just said, we live in a busy world. And sometimes to get those answers, we have to be still and to stop. So as you continue to breathe, just allow that sense of peace and calmness to come over you. Take another big breath in your nose. Now open up your mouth and let it out. And now I want you to come to a natural rhythm of your breathing. Like, this is the breath that you don't have to think about. This is the breath that happens when you're sleeping. You're not concerned if you're going to be able to breathe through the night, unless you have sleep apnea and you have a machine. That's a whole different story. But just breathe. And pay attention to what you're hearing around you. My voice. You may hear cars passing by wherever you are, people's footsteps, other people's voices. Are you able to find stillness when you're hearing a bunch of other chaos going on around you? And in the midst of that, Simone, and those of you that are watching or listening, I want you to tap into your breath. See if you can hear it. See if you can feel it. Simone, you might feel it the most when you take an inhale and your belly gets big on the inhale. And then the belly gets small when you exhale. Or you may feel it at the top part of your chest when those lungs fill up with air and then they deflate on your exhale. Or maybe you're like me. I feel my breath the most right in between that space where your upper lip and your nostril come together. The air is really cool on the inhale and then it's warm where you exhale. Those of you watching, Simone, wherever you feel your breath, I want you to put all of your attention to that spot. And just let go. Knowing that nothing else matters but this particular moment right here. Whatever you need to get to back when you open up your eyes, it's going to be there. Whatever happened before I asked you to stop and close your eyes, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is being present and being mindful of this moment. Because no two moments we experience in our life are ever the same. And for me, I'm on a mission to give to people what I've been given to myself. And that is an awareness that everybody is experiencing something different in life. It doesn't matter what you do for work. It doesn't matter how tall you are, your shape, your gender, your size, your religion. We all are experiencing something in our life that requires us to sometimes just stop and be still. Now, Simone, I want you to give yourself what you need in this moment. I want you to take a big, grateful breath in through your nose. Let it out your nose. Now, everything we do is about intention. Take an intentional breath in through your nose. Let it out your nose. Now, there's a voice that happens behind every inhale and exhale we take. What are you hearing? Take a big breath in your nose. Let it out your nose. Now, any expectation, you, Simone, those of you watching that you may be holding on to, inhale it in right now. Take the biggest breath you've taken today. Open up your mouth and let that shit go. Open your eyes. That is how mindfulness and practicing that, sitting still with my own self on a daily basis and being able to process everything that is going on, not just in my life, but in the lives of those that I interact with on a daily basis. Like, it matters. And people in the healthcare profession that are dentists, your daily routines and what you do before you walk into the office, it matters. Your energy matters. You set the tone in the office. And when you can take the time on your own at any given moment to stop and be still and be like, you know what? They might be dealing with something that I don't understand, but it impacted me in a way that I don't like. Let me go sit with that for a minute before I respond. I know what it's like to respond when you don't take the time to be still first.
Wow.
And I'm on a mission to educate people. The most powerful thing that we possess is our breath. Without it, we don't live. We don't exist without breathing. The quality of your life is based on the depth of your breath. And when you know who gave you life, you don't have no problem stopping every now and then just to, man, thank you. It's going to be okay.
That is amazing.
It's just a moment. the moments, being mindful is about knowing that every moment we experience in life is a gift from God. No matter if it's good or if it's bad, it's just a moment. How you choose to respond in that moment is up to you and nobody else.
Wow.
Because there's going to be another moment coming. And when I teach yoga, when I teach people how to meditate and how to sit still and become more mindful of who they are and what's going on in their life, I want them to know that how you feel before we started, hopefully it's different.
It's different. I feel like you really are releasing, you are causing your body to be less tense, more relaxed, more peaceful. And how did you come to this awakening that you experienced? And now that you're trying to guide others to it, how do you bring them to that journey?
I came to that awakening through my own pain. Like there's purpose behind every painful situation. And the only choice that you have is to how you're going to navigate that pain.
Yeah.
That pain's going to push you. It's going to pull you. It's going to prosper you. That pain will bring you pleasure. But there's a purpose behind it. And it wasn't until I started sick, because I had been meditating. That was 2014, 2015 when I first told you about mindfulness.
Yeah. You've been doing it before then, right?
I was doing it. Now I know now, because of the journey that I've been on, doing that, the meditation, the yoga, the working out, that was how I was coping with my own personal issues.
Wow. Like, I think about like how long it takes for people to get to that journey, and God somehow blessed you with already having the tools, like already in your armamentarium, right?
And I didn't even know, like I didn't.
You didn't even know.
Didn't even know until I gave somebody permission to get in my mind, and I became honest with my therapist.
Yeah.
And let them all the way in and started sharing things that I had never shared with anybody.
Wow.
Like some things that had happened in my life that I didn't know how it impacted me because I wasn't allowed to talk about it. And when you get to a place of pain that you don't like and hurt that causes you to hurt other people, either you want to fix that and be better, or you're going to sit in that. And I chose not to sit in it, only to be told by my therapist that now it's time to heal, Rashad.
Wow.
Because all that stuff you've been doing are things that therapists recommend for their patients to do. That's been your life. It's allowed you to cope for a very long time. She said, if you want to heal, you need to really be more intentional about what you're doing.
God, I love it. I love it. I love it because of the fact that I feel like because I personally know you, I see you enact these things in your life. You walk your walk, you talk your talk, but then also to the lives that you're impacting in the process during it. So one of my first questions is, especially related to mindfulness, what are your suggestions for people in today's busy world when they're like, I don't have enough time?
Right.
Because that's really what it is. Like, you're telling people like, oh, I don't have enough time, right? But you do have enough time, right?
What we just did, that wasn't even 5 minutes. So the people who tell me that they don't have time, I have clients tell me that all the time. Hey, coach, I ain't got time to do that. I don't have time to do the extra stuff that you're telling me to do outside of our session to make me better or to limit my injuries or to get the weight off. Well, you don't want it.
Why do you think that they're resistant to it, though? Because there's a level of, I really want to tell you, like, how your words always have impacted me. So I became more aware once I started hearing mindfulness, of course, thanks to the Calm app. Shout out if you want to sponsor, right? Drop those dollars. But I remember hearing you, and I'm like, oh, that's what he was talking about. And even in today, I spend the 10 minutes. Sometimes it's hard for me to commit to it. Why do you think that is?
Honestly, we don't like to sit with our own thoughts.
Oh. Yeah. We're afraid of what we're going to hear?
Yeah, we're afraid of what we're going to hear. We're afraid of what we're going to feel. We're afraid of seeing something when in our moment of stillness that we don't want to see. You know what I mean? And during COVID, when wasn't nothing else going on, that was the first time in my career that I had to be still. Because part of me not addressing my own issues was staying busy. The busier I can be, the less time I have to deal with whatever the issue is.
Correct.
Yeah, so we can just avoid it.
Yeah.
Like we know what's happening, but I just don't have the energy. I don't have the time to deal with it because life is going on and we're constantly moving. If you don't have 60 seconds to start your day when you get up to be still, then you're taking your life for granted.
Wow.
And you're not operating at your maximum capacity of what you've been put on the earth to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that especially during the pandemic, I still couldn't get quiet.
Yeah.
Like, I just couldn't get quiet because I was like, this is too much going on, and I'm a busybody. And I mean, even when I was going through the period of time where my listeners, you guys, I have shared this, where I was going through death, disease, divorce, all at the same time, which is when me and Rashad kind of like really became cool. The only thing I knew how to do was flood my day with more shit,
Like
more work,
yeah.
you know. And now I'm in this space where it's beautiful. And docs, I tell you this all the time about that work-life balance. It's the quiet moments where you're able really to hear yourself and say, what do you want out of life, right? Whether it's traveling, whether it's literally, now I've gotten into the place where I feel like I had to ask permission to be quiet. You know, I had to ask permission to take time away from myself, take trips by myself. Not because I almost was like, am I worthy to do this, or do I have the time? And now I'm like, I can't afford not to, right? So I do wonder, why is it, especially I see it more in the Western world, because in the Eastern world, they're not like this. Like, we're over here, like, we've interviewed people in Norway, I think the last week, and I've interviewed some people in, what was the other place? Like, what was that other place we just did? The gentleman, and it was definitely all Europe, but they're like totally not on the same, they're not in the same playing field that we're in. And every time we go overseas, or when I travel overseas, I'm like, they do sit down. They take lunch for like 2 hours. Who got time to take a 2-hour lunch?
Simone, my best friend is took a job in Spain. He lived in Spain, moved his whole family over there. And it was such a culture shock for him. He got there last summer, and he's a corporate man. He's like, Rashad, they don't have a care in the world. He was like, these people don't come to work on Fridays. He said, my executive staff, I come into the office and I'm like, where is everybody? I was like, oh, it's Friday. Nobody comes to work on Friday. And it took him a minute to get ingrained in the culture. Like, he was trying to enforce the way we work over here with them over there, and it didn't work.
It doesn't work.
Like, the whole month of August, the whole country shut down for a siesta.
Yes. Which, when you go travel over there, you're like, y'all don't need no money? And they like, that. I mean, you're like, why are all the shops closed, right? It's wild. So let me ask you this. So now that we're realizing that we don't like to sit with ourselves, right? Because that's uncomfortable. That's probably why we rush into our days, which is problematic. And I think that's also part of why we have so much anxiety. We have so much stress because we're just moving, right? We're not being quiet.
And then there's nothing wrong with moving. Moving is necessary. Moving is necessary. I mean, we need to move.
But are we intentionally moving?
Most people aren't.
Yeah.
Most people aren't.
I would agree with that. I think that the movement that we have is like, we move busy. We're busy workers, right? But like that actual intentional movement, like on how I'm going to move the needle maybe this way, or how I'm going to impact this life this way. I mean, I can't, it's hard for me when I think of people that just wake up, do their job, and go home.
I'll say this, Simone, and this has just come from experience of people that I've had the opportunity to train and do yoga with over the course of my career. People that aren't truly living in their purpose, they don't want to stop to take time.
Why?
Because stopping to take time is going to remind them that they're going to do something that they really don't want to do.
So they're going to have the job that they don't want to do.
Yeah, it's really not bringing them fulfillment. It's really not bringing them happiness. And so because it's not, they don't want to spend no time taking care of themselves. They just want to go to this job or whatever and do what it is and go back home and get stuck in this rut because somewhere along the line, they started to believe that their gift didn't matter, or that their true purpose didn't matter, or that they weren't going to get the monetary things that they needed to live the lifestyle they want because their purpose was taking too long to flourish and become
You
what it is.
literally sound like The Alchemist. Like, have you read the book?
Yes.
You sound like the kid on the journey, like trying to find his life's purpose. Like,
that's what life's about. And when you find it, or when you know it, because everybody doesn't know their life's purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But when you know it, if you're not doing anything on a daily basis that allows you to cultivate that gift within you,
Yeah.
you get stagnant. You get stuck. 20, 30, 40 years pass by and you've been working, doing something that, it gave you the life that you thought you wanted financially. You could do some things, but you weren't happy. You weren't at peace. And I just want people to find their peace.
So what do you feel like are some of the key benefits to using mindfulness in your day operations, or you're incorporating it into your daily lives?
It helps me deal with everybody else in the world.
Wow. That's so like...
The reason why I meditate, and the reason why I practice yoga, and the reason why I sit still with myself, the reason why I see my therapist every week, it's because I deal with people that ain't willing to do the work themselves. And you have to deal with whatever comes from that human being. I work with children. They are different every single day. And if I'm not at home managing myself, how am I going to manage all these crazy different emotions I'm going to have on a regular basis as an educator or as a trainer? No two people are the same. But as long as I know I done started my day that works best for me, I can deal with whatever I'm going to face.
I love that mindfulness is used to help be armor for you to help manage other people
that ain't willing to do the work.
Yeah. And so you use it as your armor to be like, okay, if I got to take on the world, if I've got to handle all these things that are going to come at me, I'm going to be equipped to do so.
Right. And it's like what your profession, being a dentist. Yeah. Somebody comes in and you, for whatever it is, look in their mouth, I already told you what you need to be doing.
Right.
But you're not going to do it.
Right.
That ain't my problem.
Yeah.
Let me keep my peace. I'm going to continue to educate you on what you need to do to ensure that you don't have to come back to deal with this situation again. I mean, what goes on in our teeth is just like our mind.
I love that because I feel like a lot of times, especially with the industry that we're in, we combat, or I would say I absorb so much energy in a day, right?
Oh, man.
And the reason why I have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning doesn't make sense to most. But to me, it makes all the sense in the world. I have to get up to be able to be a full cup. And when my team says, like, you always have so much energy, I'm like, but y'all know I didn't get up out the bed with this full cup. I literally have started from the moment that I put that Apple Watch on and I'm putting my clothes on, like I'm revving up. And then on the car all the way to the gym, I'm hyping myself up. Then I'm going to work out. Then I come back and I'm like, I'm listening to a podcast on the way to work. Not because I don't want to listen to more ratchet music or hype myself up more, but I need the food. It's like mental food. Yeah. And then I meditate before I walk into the doors, because I completely agree with you. When you're absorbing your patient's energy, your team's energy, even thoughts of your own, like the thoughts that you have in your own head, you got to have some.
You got to include the family. If you got a family life,
who got a family? What? Like, what we talking about? Right. Like those people too, and your friends, and there's so many other people. Yeah. I love what you're saying as far as we really have to feel like in order to take on the day, put on your armor, and the proper armor is taking time for yourself.
Take care of you.
Yeah.
Take care of you. Self-care is huge. Self-mastery. And oftentimes you won't really know what works best for you until you sit still and be okay with sitting still.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about your friend that moved over to Spain. I'm sure he's a probably totally different human now because he's got a slower paced life. So talk to me about what your thoughts are now when we have so many people who don't even realize that they're in this fast paced cycle, right? And the impacts it's having on the world as far as stress, anxiety, their well-being, their health. Like, what are your thoughts about that?
They're looking for somebody like me. They're looking for somebody that is skilled in an area that can help them manage their stress, manage their anxiety. That doesn't necessarily mean going for a run, getting on the bike, going to the gym, or doing something. Sometimes you just need to be taught how to be still.
How do you talk to those people who don't know even that? Like, I can't begin to tell you how many, especially men, right?
Oh, yeah.
where I'm talking to men, whether they're in my office or they're friends, and their mindset is like, yeah, I like this though. I like this drive. And I'm like, both can exist. You don't have, you taking time for yourself doesn't mean that you don't have drive. Like how, so they're not even, to me, they're not even thinking that they need something like this.
Right. And this is just off experience, what's been going on with people I've been interacting with just within the last couple of weeks, right? I've had some brothers that have hit me up because the pressure of life, the pressures of being a man, the pressures of succeeding on the job, the pressures of taking care of the house become too much, and the body starts to react in a way that is negative. And just last week, I had a good friend of mine call me. He was having a panic attack, thought he was having a stroke.
Because they feel the same.
Because they feel the same. Yeah. And it was the amount of anxiety and stress in his life had gotten to the point where his body was letting him know he couldn't hold it no more. And he called me and asked me to come to his art studio and sit with him and help him just to breathe and to encourage him that you're going to be okay.
But after you've done that, like, what's the next steps?
The next steps is to not want to experience that same thing again. Because one thing that happens in life, when the pressures of life hit us and things happen, we have two choices. You deal with whatever this situation is bringing up out of you that don't need to be there no more, or you suppress it. And I tell anybody, if you suppress it, I'm going to give you some tools. I'm going to follow up with you. If you can't find 1 or 2 minutes to be still, you're going to get back in the same routine, the same cycle, and it's going to come back even worse.
What percentage of the world do you feel like does that?
Oh, man, probably 80%.
Yeah.
It's too many people.
Why?
That's what I don't know. That's what I don't know. And I don't know if I'll ever find the answer to that. I just know within the community of people that I get to impact, if I can give them some tools that can help them be better, that's what I want to do.
So for me, I think that it comes from a lot of like historical reasons, right? It's the pressure of your family. I was raised with an amazing family, like seriously had a good mom, dad, good sister, brother. But I was also raised to be very perfect, right? And so this perfection pursuit that has been with me, and I still struggle sometimes with it, was part of my issue as far as like, you got to be busy, you got to be perfect, you cannot fail, you cannot fall. And it's funny, on my 40th trip where you were asking about Bora Bora, and how was it, I asked my mom one question: what is one thing that you wish that you could change, that you taught me, that you thought was, part of something that you taught me that you now realize wasn't true, right? And we went over a couple of things, and one of the things she said too was, I wanted you to be too perfect. And now I look back on anxiety, stress, and shoot, I didn't even know I was having panic attacks. Like, 'cause I didn't know what the hell that was. I mean, so when I had opened my office, I'd be getting information overload. It'd be like multitask, do so many things, like be busy, right? And I remember because in dental offices, and I know in a lot of different places, there are people coming in your doors like left and right, and your brain is not meant to have that many stimulations that fast, right? Yeah. But I didn't know that, and so I was like, I'm about to I would just do things like this. I gotta go walk outside. Like, I don't know what's happening right now, but like whatever I'm feeling, like I'm about to explode, and I'm gonna go walk up and down the shopping center and come back. And then I remember somebody reading or listening to something, and they were talking about panic attacks, and I was like, wait, what is that? I said, oh, well, damn, that is what I experience on a day-to-day basis, right? So talk to me a little bit about, multitasking and busyness in comparison to the impact that it's having, or the negative impact that's happening, especially when you're talking to people about trying to be mindfulness. Do you see it being a direct correlation to people being anxious and stressed? Do you feel like this whole concept of multitasking or being busy is really a problem? And how does mindfulness come in to help that?
I mean, mindfulness is just really being aware of what's going on, and the feelings and emotions that you are experiencing based on what is happening. And somebody who is overly busy, I mean, I like multitasking. I mean, sometimes I do my best work when I'm multitasking.
Mm-hmm.
But when it gets to a point where the multitasking is bringing out emotions and feelings in you that are not healthy,
like what?
The anxiousness, the I need to go for a walk.
Brain's overload. Like,
yeah, the
can't
brain,
handle it, right?
Yeah. The brain overload. Depending on the type of work that you do, that is part of it. Walking in mindfulness is knowing that I'm going to experience moments like this because of the work that I do. That is part of this job. This is what happens.
Right.
Mindfulness is knowing this is what's going to happen. I'm mindful of that. I already know how I respond when it comes. Are these negative responses or are these responses beneficial to me? When you're mindful of how your body reacts in those moments, you know how to better address them when they keep coming. Because busyness, it ain't going nowhere. I mean, the fast pace of our world, it's not going to stop. It's only going to get faster.
So we have to be slower.
Yeah, we have to be slower.
Yeah.
The world is not going to slow down.
How do you give yourself permission to slow down? Because I think that maybe some people battle with that too.
How do you give yourself permission?
So for instance, for me, like, I only slowed down. The real pivotal moments in my life that I look back on was I didn't slow down. Yeah. God set me down. Like, right, whether it was my physical being like, girl, or when I opened my second office during the pandemic.
Yeah. Crazy.
Dumb. But didn't know the world was about to shut down. I was breaking out in hives.
And I remember.
Right. And I was like, I mean, it was literally like, what the hell? And now I realized that was God saying, you gotta stop.
You gotta stop.
But sometimes I feel like the stroke doesn't tell us that, or the hives doesn't tell us that, or the body's shutting down that. So, like, I think that sometimes we struggle with giving ourselves permission to slow down. And what would you say to that person that's struggling in that space?
Just to stop.
Like, literally just stop.
Yeah. Like we already did. People that go back and watch this, they may catch that portion of what we did with the breathing in a moment of their day where it's chaotic. Mm-hmm. And they just need to stop. That was 3 minutes. And then they can get back to whatever is happening.
Because what are you hoping that's happening in that 3 minutes time?
I'm hoping that person is able to find a sense of peace, a sense of relaxation, a sense of, okay, there's a lot going on. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling stressed. Let me be still, because I may get the answer that I need that's going to bring me peace as I navigate the rest of the day. Everything we need is here. Everything that we need to get through our days is on the inside of us. And if you don't stop long enough to tap into that, yeah, life is going to be chaotic. It's always going to be chaotic.
Yeah.
So you have to give yourself to know that it is okay to stop.
How long does it typically take for someone that is trying to start the incorporation of mindfulness and sitting still? Like, how long do you feel like it takes for somebody to pick that up?
For there's a major shift, 90 days.
90 days.
Scientific research.
Got it.
And when on my quest of learning about it, when I saw that, and they said it takes we can rewire our brains.
I want you to have a 90-day challenge. If you have a 90-day challenge, I'm going to promote the mess out of it.
Okay.
Because I think that that's the part of people need to also have accountability partners. And I'm also, a person that will start doing the meditation because I know the benefits of it. I know how good it is. But then Saturday will happen and I won't. And Sunday will happen and I won't. And then I'll look up and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't get back to my practice. So I think for people, especially healthcare providers, I'd love to see if you do a 90-day challenge. I will promote the mess out of it because I understand the importance of it.
Yeah, definitely. We can do that. 90 days, the brain can be rewired in a way that's more productive. That's more where you understand the importance of taking the time to just slow down and knowing that these 3 to 5 minutes or however long I'm taking just to sit and be still and be quiet with my own thoughts, it's going to better prepare me for whatever is going to happen once I leave this space. Right? And it's the same thing when I teach a yoga class. Like, people come to teach yoga, when they come to a class, because there's something that they're needing to deal with, either physically, emotionally, whatever it may be on their mat. Because when they come to my class, ain't nobody talking but me. There's no conversation happening in the class. And as a teacher, when people come into the room, I'm assessing the room. Like, I'm an empathetic healer. I feel everything that is happening. Like, I have felt your pain over the years. I have felt your happiness. Even when I haven't been around you, because of the relationship that we have, I'm like, man, I know what she's going through. Let me leave her alone. Like, but if you don't know that, so when a person comes to my class and they roll that mat down, my goal is when they leave, roll that mat back up and walk out, that they're ready to handle whatever is coming the rest of the day.
And I think you probably do provide that, because knowing who you are, the amount, like, again, I always say the amount of work that you do, I see it firsthand. You can be going through a shit ton of problems yourself.
Yeah, I
and
am.
you still, life is a lifing, right?
And I felt unworthy. When life started life, and I was like, yeah, I need to stop. I don't need to be teaching no more. I don't need to be doing yoga.
Yeah.
I don't need to help people meditate, because I got my own stuff I need to deal with. But
What brought you back?
What brought me back is knowing that my gift is needed, and that when I can share it from an authentic place, because I'm now okay with me, and I've addressed everything that has happened to me, that has impacted my behavior, the choices that I've made, the decisions that I've made over the course of my life. I've accepted all of it, and for so long I ran from it, thinking that part of me never existed. No, it existed, and it impacted you in a way that you need to address.
Yeah.
And when I was able to do that, I was like, oh, no, this mat is healing, me meditating is healing, and me being able to answer a call when somebody says, hey, can you come over and sit with me because I need to do some breath work. Who am I not to give this gift to them? Because as I'm helping them, it's helping me.
So how does mindfulness help self-compassion?
It helps people be more understanding that everybody's got something going on.
Yourself included,
Yeah.
right?
There's not one person that is not dealing with something. And when you can navigate life from a space of, okay, I didn't like how that person talked to me. I didn't like how that situation played out. I didn't like how this friend said this, or I don't like how that patient did. They got something going on that I may not be aware of. Let me show them some grace. Let me respond in a way that doesn't perpetuate whatever it is they got going on, because I don't want it to interrupt my peace.
And I think that, again, we've got to do better about showing grace to people in general. There was a great book I read called The Charisma Myth, and it was talking about...
That was a good one. Yeah.
Isn't it a good book?
Yeah,
by Olivia Carbone. And so check that book out, guys, if you haven't. And one of the things that she talked about was sometimes we're in such a rush in the car to get somewhere, and there's an accident, right? And it's about that empathy or that self-compassion towards people. And you're seeing traffic, and you're just so frustrated of how it's impacting you.
Mm-hmm.
And you have no idea if that person in that car accident lost their mother,
right,
their life, like they just lost something in the car. I promise I look at traffic totally different now because of that, because I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now. And somebody's pain, just because I'm late or I'm rushing, I'm not being aware of like the impact that we're all connected in some shape or fashion in this world. And that person may be really going through something, and they are not able to articulate what they're going through. But at least I'm able to take some steps back to say, this isn't really about me.
Right.
This is about whatever they're going through, but I can show self-compassion and empathy.
Right.
And I think that being mindful and sitting with yourself, you understand that, like, hey, I'm proud of you for even being able to be a mindfulness coach, a yoga instructor, an educator, and still taking on life the way that life's for you, you know?
Right.
Because it's a moment, like you said. You're just
and
having a blip in a moment.
Life don't stop.
It don't stop.
And you've learned that.
Yeah.
You've learned that things happen in life that you don't understand.
Yeah.
It makes you question everything.
It makes you question everything. And then I think also, too, what you start to realize in this world is that maybe we're not having enough And I encourage people to do that practice and, follow you and have a part of those practices a part of your life, because you see suicide rates going up. You see people like taking drugs more, like not the fun drugs, but like the hard stuff. And you're wondering, like, how are we really dealing with the problems that we're going through? Because I heard about a young lady, actually one of my employees' niece committed suicide. And the reason that she committed suicide, she was 21, it was because her boyfriend broke up with her and she lost her job. And I thought to myself, like, that's painful.
Yeah.
But is it life-altering painful? Like, because we've all had a boyfriend break up with us or a girlfriend break up with us. We've all lost a job. But we're not teaching each other how to be mindful or trying to be, like, how do we deal with anxiety and stress in a healthy way?
Right.
And instead, what is happening is that my life is no longer worthy to live. And on a previous episode, I talk about even my bout with one time trying to take it. Like, I was like, my life is, you were around, my life was so hectic. I'm like,
I remember. Yeah.
God, like, if this is what life is about, like, I can't handle it.
Right.
And I'm so glad my tribe around me was able to pull me out of that. And so I guess I kind of wonder, like, for the people who are maybe listening, dentists have one of the highest suicide rates. I think it's because we're not incorporating these things.
Yeah.
We're not even thinking about it. We're not taught that.
If you need me to come to your office, you can go to my website and book me to come out and not only help you, but your entire practice change and the culture change by creating an atmosphere of mindfulness. I've been doing it in the schools. I do it with everybody that I interact with. And what you do is important. You serve a need that is needed. I've been going to the dentist since I had teeth in my mouth.
Yeah.
And when I talk to people that say, I ain't been to the dentist in 6 years, 7 years, I'm like, yuck. Like, what is going on in your mouth? What's going on in your brain?
Oh, God.
When you're not taking the time to see what's going on. Our attention is the one thing that is always in competition. Everything is competing for our attention. Everything.
Yeah.
I don't have no choice but to sit down because something is trying to take my attention. Something or someone at any given moment is coming for my attention. How much of it am I going to give them?
Wow.
And the measure of that can only be determined when you're taking time for yourself to sit still and be in your own and be okay with your own thoughts and be okay with you and everything that has made you so that you can continue going out and pouring into others.
How do you feel like practicing mindfulness is going to, moving forward, like, maybe give me a couple of tips for individuals that are like, okay, now I hear them. Consistency is a problem for me. Yeah, like, I hear them, but my business we talked about, but like consistency, I can't say this. What are some tips that we can incorporate right now to make sure that, one, I either am able to leave this podcast, reach out to you, we'll talk about that part in a moment. I can incorporate this right now as soon as I finish, not just the 3-minute rep, but how do I keep it up?
Put an alert in the phone.
Simple.
Yes, set a calendar invite for yourself. Put a calendar invitation to yourself and create a title that makes sense to you, like be still or take a breath. Like whatever that thing is, put that in your phone. We all keep our phones on us now with the Apple Watches.
It tells you like the mindfulness like alert.
But if you have the calendar alert in your phone, like I got the calendar invitation to remind me about this meeting.
Yeah.
Put it in the phone.
Yeah. It's like, stop making the process so complicated. Like, it's just simple.
Yeah, I believe in giving simple instructions.
Yeah.
Put it in your phone.
One, I got to tell you, like, hearing you, we catch up about all the drama that goes on in life, right? But, like, the man that you are now is so evolved. It's so distinguished. And it's not just with the gray hairs. It's like you've really done.
Thank you.
I mean, I can't crack jokes on the bald head, but, like, the beard, I can see it clearly on this day. But you've done so much work, and I'm proud of you because
it's not easy, sis. And you know that.
Yeah.
This work ain't easy. But now that I am seeing my own heartbeat walk around on his own, like I'm determined to keep doing this work because when he gets older, I want him to be able to see people that look like him in these spaces. We didn't grow up seeing black yoga teachers, black meditation teachers.
Ain't never.
Right. Black therapists.
You still, I think, are the only one I know.
Oh, man. Okay.
And a male, too, though, at that.
I'm about to make you laugh. Okay. This literally happened last night. Okay. So I've been teaching yoga at my church. Right. Been doing it all summer. And I've communicated to them about some of the things going on in my life. Because to be an effective human and impact lives, you have to be willing to be transparent.
Yeah, I love that.
And have to be authentic. And so I teach from that place. And so I've shared some things with the ladies at the church that come to my class. And I said some stuff last night, and I heard some ladies on the side having their own side conversation. And they were like, oh, he not gay? He told us he was from Atlanta, and he teach yoga. I've been thinking this whole time, this man is gay.
One of these things has to be true, right? This has to be true.
Yeah, and then when they was like, oh, he's straight. Let me close my legs.
Because a black yoga instructor from Atlanta is just stereotyped this way.
I've been stereotyped. Yeah, and I get it in regards to the space. I get it when I'm teaching yoga with people who look like me.
Yeah.
But the majority of my training in this field, I've taught people that do not look like me.
Why do you think that people assume that a black male yoga instructor has to be a homosexual?
Because that's all you see.
Really?
On social media, like.
It's like we pigeonhole people so much. It's like we could be anything. You could be anything.
Right.
No, I'll admit, when you started practicing, I remember you even getting your yoga certificate. I was like, what is yoga? And like, why would I go to that? And then I went to one of the classes and I was like, oh, listen, this is because you're intense. Like, it's a good intensity though. But it's foreign, and it's definitely foreign in our community.
It is.
And so what do you feel like? Do you feel like because yoga and mindfulness is so foreign, especially into the African American community, that we experience more stress and anxiety? Is it more between the melanated people, or is it different like subset groups like in the world that you see this like more anxiety and stress because we don't do these things? Is it like a specific race? Like, what do you see?
I have seen that mindfulness and getting a grip on our mind has been the secret they've been trying to keep from us for a very long time, right? And I'm about to go here on you, right? I said it earlier. Our breath is the most powerful thing that we possess.
Yeah.
Depending on what you believe, when we were created, we weren't breathing until that breath was given to us. The first person that received breath from God, he looked like me. And he was given dominion and authority over the entire world, which means he had to multitask. He was busy naming everything on the planet. That took a lot of work. But he knew where his life came from. And he knew that how he conducted himself was going to impact the rest of the world. But there's been parts of society that have told us, this ain't for us. You can't do this. My mama told me yoga and meditation was of the devil because she's a minister growing up in the church. It was of the devil. You're going to open yourself up to some evil spirits.
Yoga and meditation.
Is what I was told. I've had Christian organizations and churches cut me off
because of stretching and breathing.
Over the course of my career because I got into a space that they did not understand. I have located a sense of peace in the presence of God during my practice and meditation that I've never thought I was going to find. And I told God, if I don't feel you in this, I ain't going to do it. I said, how can I set myself apart to make an impact in this world that when I leave, people will know that I was here.
Yeah.
And for that, it's this. Because when I walk in somewhere with my mat, first thing I get is the look like, what he about to do? He a gym rat. I am. That's the rough side of me. There's a whole nother side that I tapped into, and I brought them together because our people need to see people that look like them when they need healing.
Yeah.
And there's different forms of healing, and you have to find what works for you. And I believe meditation, mindfulness, yoga is one of the keys to keep us as a people together, because when we good, the entire world is good.
I love that. I want to thank you so much for sharing your story,
You're
your
welcome.
journey he came in here and said, like, this is going to be one of the best podcasts. And I can't lie. Like, I still have goosebumps because it really was. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being transparent.
You're welcome.
And thank you for being a friend. Because you are the epitome of what I think people should look to ascribe to, you know, doing the work, going through life, having the obstacles, and overcoming them.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of you, friend.
Because there's going to be more.
It's more. And you've got to do more. Yeah. And I love that. So, guys, if you have loved this show, and I think it has been an amazing show, please do me a favor. I want you to like, subscribe, and also share this with a friend, because I think that this journey, this thing we call life, can be better because we're sharing more information.
Yeah.
Rashad, tell them exactly where they can find you, what you need them to do to become better humans, because I want everybody to leave this show being a better human. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, _my mindful muscle is where you can find me on Instagram. That's where I spend most of my time. Website, I don't even know, because I don't. mindfulmuscle@durable.com. That's
we're gonna
the
change
website.
that. We're gonna. That's too hard for us to remember.
I know. That's why I almost didn't.
You're
say
like,
anything.
Instagram is where it is for me.
Yeah, Instagram where it can. Then we can connect other ways from there.
I want to do this 90-day challenge. I'm not joking. Like, I think that this would be a phenomenal thing to go into either the last quarter of the year, giving you some time, or at the beginning of the year.
Nah, we'll do it, because you know me. I don't believe in. I mean, I've been
haphazardly doing stuff.
What? And then I don't believe in the New Year's resolutions. I've been in this game way too long. Yes, that is the most lucrative time of the year for me.
Yeah.
But most people fall off after a couple of weeks. So I would rather do the 90-day challenge to end the year.
Okay.
So we'll look at the calendar. I'll get with you, and then we'll start it so that we're going into 2024.
Yeah.
Not looking to start taking care of ourselves in this way. Like, we're already doing it.
Yeah.
And it just continues as the new year comes, because we have no idea what's in store for 2024.
As long as it's not a tridemic. What's a pandemic? The quadremic. Just as long as it's not that. Guys, thank you so much for listening to Beyond the Chair. Be sure to check out our next episode. I'll see you guys soon.